Now we're gonna move over to the sidebar. That's the first feature we're gonna build here. Before I do that, I always like to give ourselves some spacing. Right now, it seems like they're both one big container. So I'm gonna use some padding here to kind of tell me where each container is located. I'll put padding here, and also just give you some space to work with. I always like to give myself some space so that way not everything's so cluttered together. Okay, so the sidebar, if we go back to our app, here you can see we have two main sections. The top section where is my profile, and the bottom section, which is for suggestions. So if we focus on the top section, it's essentially a row. We'll have items that go from left to right, the picture, my name, and this switch. And from the bottom, also rows. Here, the title, the see all, another row for Wolfpack running, the icon, and the follow. So which is gonna be the same for all of this at the bottom. All right, so let's build this. Focus here. I'm just gonna drop a container. And again, it's gonna be a row, left to right. I'm gonna put a wire style into it. I'm gonna go to layout. Again, I don't want anything fixed, so I'm gonna remove this. And for now, we're not gonna worry about any minimum width since we're just gonna let this stretch out. So like this, if I do fit with the content, it will have fit the content that is inside this container. But we're not doing that. So for now, we're just gonna let it stretch out. Okay, so we're gonna need a few more other containers. Most likely, we're gonna have one for this. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're gonna set 6 containers. I'm just gonna copy, paste, 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 paste. We'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now we cannot tell where it starts, where it ends. So the way to do this is by going to the parent container. There's this feature called apply gap spacing between elements, and we can actually space out the elements that live inside that container. So go here. For now, I'm gonna apply a 20, but I know that there's a little bit more spacing here compared to over here at the bottom. Like it feels like this is all is a group, even with this third group, which is different from the top one here with my profile. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this inside another container. So we're gonna have a bunch of containers inside one big container, separate from that main container on top. So let me show you what I mean. I'm gonna grab all these containers at the bottom. I'm just gonna do click here, do shift, click while holding shift. I'm gonna right click. I'm gonna group element in a column. Again, we're working from top to bottom here. And we lost our gap. That's because we have another parent container containing all of these child elements. So we're gonna again select that parent container, which is right now selected. I'm gonna click here. And again, I'm gonna put myself 10 instead of the 20 that this other parent container has for the top and the bottom container. Now you can see this little space here at the bottom. That's because Bubble has at its best to set a reasonable height. Unfortunately, it's not a perfect height. So when we can do this is we go to this container properties, which is this over here. Now we have layout selected. We go to the bottom here, something called min height, and this is what we will calculate it. It's not the correct height. In fact, we're not gonna use any height. We're gonna set to 0. Now, the fact that it didn't collapse all the way to the top is because, or it didn't set a 0 pixel height, was because we did something called fit height to content. So it's just gonna condense to whatever you have inside this parent container. Okay. So now we'll focus on the content inside the containers. So we'll start with the one on top. So again, we'll have a profile, my name, and the switch. Now, not only we have a name, we'll have a username and my name. So if you can think of this as another container, we can set this to be a column and we can position them from top to bottom. So let's go back to the editor. Now, here, the first thing is going to be the image. So I'm just going to drop some elements on this container that mimic what we have on Instagram. So we're going to put an image here. For now, it's going to let it be like this. I'm going to put a text. and I'm going to put another text or switch. So this is being positioned from top to bottom, most likely because it's set to a column. So let's double check that. Yep, set to a column. So we'll set it to row. Now they're from left to right. So again, we're gonna put some spacing. It's gonna be the same trick we did for this parent container. Gonna select this container. We're gonna go here to apply gap spacing to elements. And now we're gonna do it here for the column. I'm gonna do it for 20 over here. Or better yet, we're gonna do the same trick what we did here for the navigation. So I'm gonna remove this and I'm gonna select this. Now as you can see, they're all being spaced out evenly. Okay, so we can see here our image. It's quite small. We have here 20, 40, 60, 80. So we need this image to be 80 for our height. So I selected the image, double click it, I hit 80, and we need to have, it needs to be symmetrical. So we also need the width to be 80. Okay, so moving along, now this over here is being positioned all the way to the top. But if you double click on the text, we now have control for vertical alignment. We can position it towards the middle. Same thing for this one, position it towards the middle. Now for our purposes, I'm gonna put my name over here and I'm gonna put switch, what we just had in the Instagram example. And for this one, I'm gonna use a placeholder image. So I'm gonna click upload. I'm gonna go to my desktop. I'm gonna select my image. And as you can see, it's too square. So we're gonna go to layout. No, actually, I'm gonna go to appearance and I'm gonna make a round, just like we have on Instagram. I'm gonna put 80 for roundness. And also just to mimic some of the styles, this is a little bold. So I'm gonna use that for my username actually. Call theta, and then remove that style from this one. I like to use enter as a font. It's very, very clean. Very easy to use. I'm gonna use 700 and I'm gonna make it a little darker. Okay, so I'm also gonna apply to this one enter 700, and that is a little bit more bluish. Okay, so in this case, we are being limited. The width is fixed, so we wanna make that unfixed. And it looks like even though we have selected this to be spaced out evenly, the fact that we have not set a max width for this one is trying to go all the way to the right. It's trying to take all as much space as it can. So we're gonna, in order to fix that, we're gonna be selecting here fit width to content. So now it adjusts to the content. In this case, my username. If you remember, here I mentioned that we can set another column for not only to fit my username but also my actual name. So if we're gonna do that in Bubble, what the way I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna copy, paste, I'm gonna grab both of them, I'm gonna do a column. Again, same problem, is trying to go all the way to the right, but we have here fit width to content selected. However, we have a min width. Again, Bubble does its best to give us an actual min width, but in this case, it miscalculated. So again, we're gonna put that to 0, and I'll have something that resembles an Instagram. I'm gonna unselect or delete the mid height. And for this one, I'm gonna make a little bit more lighter, just like we have in the app. So I'm gonna do enter, regular. I'm gonna put my actual name. Perfect. So now we have something that looks similar to what we have here in Instagram. Okay, so let's continue moving along with the apps. All right, we're gonna now add the suggestions for you in CO section. It's just gonna be 2 different texts. I'm gonna put a text here. I'm gonna call it suggestions for you. I'm gonna just copy this text. I'm gonna add one for CO, and most likely it's going top to bottom because it's a column. So again, we're gonna use a row because we want to go from left to right, and we'll do the same trick as we did for the navigation. If you select the text, now we have controls for the vertical alignment. Typically have control for vertical alignment because the parent row is a row. So any elements inside you can control where it aligns in the y-axis. So you go to the text, select here the middle, go to this text, select here the middle. As you can see, it's not stretching because we have a fixed width. So we unselect this. Could go here, fixed width, we unselect it. And we're gonna do fit with the content so the way it fits the content, the text in there. So, and also we're gonna set all the minimum width to 0 because we're just gonna fit the content. We don't want to set any minimum width for this one. So let me check the style. It's a little gray, it's a little dark. Again, we can just borrow the gray here, go here, remove the style, this one, and we'll use enter for this one too. 700 looks fine. It's a little darker, so we're gonna choose this dark, enter again at 700. Okay, so this one looks quite big, and what we want to do, we just want this to adjust to the height based on the content inside this container. So we're gonna go to layout, we're gonna remove main width, and we're just gonna adjust it based on the height. We're gonna do basically fit height to content for everything, because we want everything to be tight. We don't want any weird spacing around in our layout. We want everything to be space based on the content that you have inside the containers. Again, you could add more spacing with padding, but that's only if you explicitly want the spacing in it. But for our sake, we already have laid out our foundation, so we kind of know, we kind of already have actually the spacing that we need. All right, so moving along, we're gonna now do this next section. It's gonna be a smaller version of what I have here at the top. So for now, I'm just gonna copy myself. I'm gonna grab this element, copy it over here. As you can tell already, it's a column. So I'm gonna set it to row, and we're gonna space them out evenly like this. And we're gonna go to our profile. I'm gonna make it a lot smaller. I'm gonna put it towards the middle, and now it looks a little bit more similar to what we have over here. So now this is a little bit more, the spacing is just too symmetrical. In fact, this one needs to be a little bit, this image needs to be closer to the username and name. So if you want things closer, you have to put them inside a container, explicitly set the spacing. So I'm gonna select this container, I'm gonna select the image, right click. I want it to go from left to right, so I'm gonna select row. And again, we're gonna clear out all the main width, all the main height, because we want it to adjust to the content. So like this, we used this gap spacing before, so we're gonna do the same trick. I'm gonna add a gap spacing. In this case, I can use 20. So you can see it's a lot closer, resembles a lot more to what we have here in Instagram. I'm gonna switch here to follow. Just gonna type follow. And I think that's darker. So I'm gonna select for this one. And now that we have this layout, why we made the wheel? So I'm just gonna copy and just paste it a few times. Perfect. Now we're gonna move over to the section on the left side. We pretty much have this sidebar finished. This we can add at the end, but as you can tell, this will be another column. This will be the first row, this will be the second row, and this column is actually can be combined with another container for another row over here at the bottom. But for now, I'm gonna move over to the section here on the left.